Hey everyone, welcome to Burton Avenue. I'm Angie and I love my cutter. I'll show you how to use your cutting machine to make amazing creations like wood signs, home decor, custom apparel, and so much more. I want you to love your cutter too. Welcome to day 4 of my 25 Days of Craftmas series. In this series, I'm showing you 25 different Christmas projects you can make with your cutting machine. And I'm sharing the SVG files I use for these projects for free. If you missed the first few projects, be sure to check them out. We've already made some really cute things. Today's project is another Christmas countdown sign. This one has a bit of a rustic farmhouse feel to it. The wood sign is really easy to make and requires just a few straight cuts with a saw. Then you'll need some wood slices, paint, vinyl, transfer tape, nails, Mod Podge, and of course, a cutting machine. You can find the complete list of supplies below or over on my blog at burtonavenue.com. Let's head over to the computer and get started. The first thing we need to do is grab the SVG file we'll be using for this project. You can get it for free on my blog at burtonavenue.com. I keep all the SVG files for the projects I make in my free SVG library. These files work with all kinds of cutting machines and are free for everyone. Once you're on my site, just click on Free SVG Files and then Free SVG Library. You'll need a password to get into the library, and there are instructions on the screen if you need to get one. Once you're in the library, you can search for the file Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. It will either be listed under the most recent projects and cut files or under the Christmas category 25 Days of Craftmas 2019 Day 4. So go ahead and click on that link and the file will be downloaded onto your computer. When you download files online, they'll usually come in a zipped folder and you'll need to extract them before you can upload them into your software. To do this, double-click on the zipped folder. A new window should pop open, and somewhere on the screen is the option to extract all. Click on that, and a new window will pop open, showing where the unzipped files will be saved. Remember this location since you'll need to get to it later. Click Extract, and the files will be unzipped onto your computer and ready to use in your cutting software. Okay, let's go over to Design Space and start a new project. Over on the left, click on Upload, then Upload Image, and then click Browse. Now you're going to find the file that we unzipped earlier. You're looking for the SVG document, and sometimes they will appear as a Chrome HTML document instead. So if you don't see SVG file listed, look for that. So highlight the name of the SVG file and then double-click or click Open. Now click on Save, then select the image one more time and click Insert Images. Now the file will appear on your Canvas screen. But before we resize this design, we need to go build our wood sign so we know how big to make it. To make this sign, you'll need 4 pieces of wood that measure about 17 inches by 3.5 inches. Then you'll also need 2 support pieces for the back that are about 12 inches long. Put all the boards together and line them up. Add some wood glue onto the support pieces and place it across the back. Secure the support pieces in place with nails. You can either use a hammer and nail or a nail gun. Now flip the sign over and give it a good sanding. I used a nail to scrape the sawdust out of the seams. Now it's time to paint the sign. I used off-white paint for my sign. It took about 3 coats to get complete coverage. While the sign is drying, pull out your wood slices. The package I got had 40 slices, so I laid them out to find the best ones. Once you've found 25 good slices that are close to the same size, we're going to put a coat of Mod Podge over the top. Vinyl doesn't stick very well to the wood, so adding a coat of Mod Podge will help it adhere better. Once the paint on the sign and the Mod Podge have both dried, lay out the wood slices on your sign. Since the slices are all a little bit different in size and shape, you don't have to be exact where you place them. Just move them around until they look good. I did measure the top row to make sure they were all pretty much the same height on the sign. You can also measure the space at the top so you know how big to make your vinyl design. My space measured about 14 inches by 4.5 inches. Now use a hammer to put a nail into each hole of the wood slices. Once that's done, we can go back over to Design Space and cut out our design. So I'm going to draw a rectangle that is the same area as the blank space on my sign. And I measure that to be 14 inches by 4.5 inches. Okay, so now this rectangle represents the blank space over on our sign. Now we can resize this design to fit nicely in that space. So first of all, I'm going to right click and choose Ungroup. That's going to separate the upper portion of the design from the numbers. Now I'm going to put the upper portion of the design over the rectangle and resize it until it looks good. Since the max cutting width of our machine is 11.5 inches, I'm just going to change the width to that. Now I'm going to select the rectangle behind the design, choose Align and Center. Now that will center my design perfectly within that rectangle. One last thing I'm going to do is draw a little line at the top to help me position the vinyl once it's cut. So I'm going to make this box 10 inches by maybe 1/10 of an inch. I'm also going to change the color so I can see it better. Now I'm going to move it to the top of my design, and I'm going to align it with the top of the rectangle and also with the center of the rectangle. Now this will give me a really good guide when I'm positioning the vinyl. So I can delete the rectangle because we don't need to cut that. Next we need to size these numbers so they'll fit well on our wood slices. Measure your wood slice to see how big the numbers can be. After measuring my wood slices, I determined the height could be about 1 1/4 inches. You can ungroup the numbers so you can see up here how tall each letter is, and that is pretty close to 1 1/4 inch, so I think we're good. Now it's time to send the design to the cutting machine. So I'm going to highlight everything, and I'm going to right click and choose Attach. This will keep everything in place once I send the design to the cutting machine. And since it is a big design, it might take a little bit of time for it to attach. Click on the Make It button in the top right corner. You'll be taken to a new screen where you will see how your design is going to look on the cutting mat. If everything looks good, click on Continue. Select your machine from the drop-down box. Once Design Space finds your machine, you'll be taken to this screen. Make sure the material is set to vinyl, and then you can load your mat into your machine. Place your vinyl on the cutting mat and smooth it out. Then load it into your machine by pressing the up and down arrow button. Once it's loaded and ready to go, the C button will light up. Press that button and your machine will start cutting. Once it's done, press the up and down arrow button again and the machine will unload the mat. To remove the vinyl, I like to flip the cutting mat upside down so the vinyl is facing down, and then I pull the cutting mat away from the vinyl. This prevents the vinyl from curling. Once the vinyl is off the mat, it's time to remove the excess vinyl. To make weeding a little bit easier, I'm going to take a craft knife and slice between the rows of numbers and between the Have Yourself a Merry Little and Christmas. Now you can remove all the excess vinyl. Once all the vinyl is weeded, it's time to apply the transfer tape. Transfer tape is important when using adhesive vinyl because it keeps your whole design together. So cut a piece of transfer tape a little larger than your design. Place it over your design and smooth it down with a scraper. Then rub firmly over the entire design. Now trim off the excess vinyl and transfer tape and cut apart the design from the numbers. You can also cut apart the numbers. Now let's apply the numbers to our wood slices. Remove the vinyl backing from one of the numbers and apply the vinyl to the Mod Podge side of the log slice. Repeat this with the other 24 numbers. Now remove the vinyl backing from the upper portion of the design. Match up the line at the top of the design with the straight edge of your sign. This will ensure that your design is straight. Also use a ruler to make sure it's centered. Once it's all in place, rub over the design with a scraper and pull off the transfer tape. You can use this sign a couple of different ways. You can start with all the wood slices flipped over so none of the numbers are showing. Then each day you'll turn one number over, starting with the number 1. Or you can start with all of the numbers facing forward, and each day you'll turn one over to the blank side, starting with the number 25. It's totally up to you how you use it. So that's it for today's project. I hope you'll come back again tomorrow for another day of Craftmas. See ya!